More than 100 years ago, biological creatures suddenly turned into violent creatures that attacked humans. Then the losers mutated and attacked people. Then the situation got out of control all over the world. But in battle, the awakened emerged with strong talents. They managed to defeat the variants repeatedly. Until the year 2245, all creatures gathered together and surrounded humanity to the last line of defense. And the last line of defense is in the Chinese capital. They were currently facing the third variant monster, and all three of them were level 3 awakened. They couldn't believe that their comrades in arms had lost to this triple variant creature. Then they tried to defeat the monster by working together. But unexpectedly they were all caught, and one of them couldn't use his spiritual skills. They were on the verge of defeat, but at the same time there was an attack aimed at the monster. A sword attack with repeated and powerful slashing speed comes from Master Yining, an awakened person at the god level. They were all saved, and the monster was defeated in an instant. But danger was still front of them. There was a monster in the air. This monster was different from the others, as if it had intelligence, and a variant of this monster had never existed before. And the two of them were determined to attack the monster without preparation. The monster immediately reacted and immediately countered their attack. Unexpectedly, those who were level 3 awakeners lost in an instant. This made the others shocked by the monster's abilities. This woman tried to retaliate against the attack, but the speed of the monster put her in danger, and at the same time Yining saved the woman from the monster's attack, and told him to back off because this wasn't his opponent. Currently, Yining is facing an unknown monster that has never existed before, and now Yining will face this monster. After blocking the monster's attack, Yining didn't expect that his sword would break. It was proven that the monster's attack was very strong, and Yining thought that from the level of attack of the monster, this creature was the 4th variant. Therefore, to face this monster, he had to use his full strength. Yining immediately threw his strongest attack at the monster. But unexpectedly, the moment before Yining's attack hit the monster, he was hit by a fatal attack from the monster. He was immediately helpless and fell to the ground. Yining also lost to the variant 4 monster with a fatal wound. That the variant 4 monster is very strong and is not an opponent of humans today. Then now Yining is worried about the future of the Earth without him and humanity. At headquarters they received news that the last hope in Yining's line of defense had been lost. And now how could they or humanity survive the attacks of these increasingly powerful and violent monsters? Then they were forced to use a plan using nuclear power. Their plan is to use humans as a medium to carry and detonate nuclear bombs at the monster. Then an explosion occurred on the Earth, the last defense of mankind with enormous sacrifices. Suddenly one November morning, 6061, a young man woke up from his fainting and seemed to remember something. When he woke up, the guards received orders that this man was infected with a mutated virus, and if he woke up he would be finished. It turns out that this man is Yining, who revived 3 years ago, on the day of the talent test. And it turns out that in Yining's previous life, someone manipulated Yining's talent test, and Yining had no choice left to finish them off. Yining defeated them both easily. In his previous life, he mostly carried leftover goods from the war and spent his life as a homeless person. But currently the Chinese war zone has fallen, and there are no resources to grow. It had only been 7 months since he had advanced to level 3 in a hurry, and was still far from true strength, so he couldn't save his family. But now he will pay for everything so he can save his family and many people, and stop this destruction. Then he checked the system of the Apocalypse Sword God and activated it. However, this system has changed a lot, perhaps because of reincarnation. And now he must immediately find the perpetrator of the obstruction of his talent in his previous life, namely this life. But at the same time he was immediately surrounded by many people, and Yining must get out of this situation by taking their leader hostage. Yining also used his speed to take their leader hostage. The guards were helpless against Yining's speed. Finally he managed to take the leader hostage and told him to take him to the test field. However, at the Awakened Exam Testing Center, many people have registered to take this exam. They will all bring hope to humanity in the future, and hope that from the many participants who take this awakened exam, there will be some people who have rare powers that can bring change to humanity. Suddenly an alarm sounded that someone was infected and was holding the officer hostage. That person was Yining. Then the other officers told him to surrender now. But Yining emphasized that he was not infected, and what he wanted to do was take this awakened test. This person ordered the soldiers to arrest Yining, but here he knew about the military regulations on the basis of his arrest. Namely Regulation number 137 regarding territorial security. Those who change must receive preferential treatment according to the regulations. So this was a violation of military orders. But if Yining contributed enough to his cause, then it could be corrected. So on that basis, he did not fight back when beaten by a soldier. But this person instead told him to finish off Yining for causing a riot at this important event. The soldiers were preparing to do so, but suddenly a spiritual plane came to that place. Then there was a person who came out of the plane, and it turned out that he was the Supreme Commander of the Heavenly Wing military, the third-level change Supreme Commander Zio Hai. Zio Hai went down to the place where there was a crowd of soldiers. The commander had such a strong aura, and what he was doing here. He came here because he was interested in the condition of a young man who was suspected of being infected and was holding a soldier leader hostage. Then he wisely said that currently the military is lacking a high level of individuals. And he told Yining to carry out an awakened test. If the changes didn't work, he would immediately be dealt with here. Yining finally agreed and immediately got up to do the awakening test. They all underestimated that people from the lower classes like Yining would not be able to awaken awakened powers. But what he is doing now is improving his previous life as he was manipulated and made mistake after mistake. Then in this new life he will start his first trial. Yining's fate is in his hands now. He touched the wall to check the strength of his body, and unexpectedly a powerful aura surrounded them all. They were all surprised by Yining's strength check, because the aura was indicated to be very strong. So now he will try to further test the power of awakening in his body. But it was unexpected that Yining's talent strength continued to increase from the initial D, C, B, A. They were all very surprised because how could someone from the lower classes have such infinite power? But for Yining, this is still not much. Testing using crystals, even Yining can do more than this. This person was shocked by Yining's test, because how could someone from a lower class be able to do that? The chance of this happening is only 1 in a million. But for Commander Zio, the results of the test are still not over, and his strength can still continue to increase. Yining's resurrection power check was still increasing rapidly, making the candidates shocked to see such a thing. For Yining this was still not enough, and he continued to release his aura to the point where he couldn't release it anymore. Then unexpectedly his talent strength exceeded a level, and now his talent strength reached this level. The candidates were very surprised by Yining's strength, but for Commander Zio, Yining's strength could still increase beyond his level. This event was extremely rare, because it concerned the future of the third level of change, and it was an important moment. Then Commander Zio instructed his troops to leave the city and ensure the prevention of attacks by monsters from outside. Due to the global effect of Yining's powerful aura, Commander Zio had to ensure his troops were deployed everywhere to prevent any incidents. The power of the aura that was generated from him was so powerful that the effects of that aura were global or large scale. As a result, the spiritual plane surrounding this place was slightly torn apart. Yining finally reached the limit of the awakened power test. The people around were still shocked and didn't seem to believe the power of Yining's testing. They were all still so amazed that they were speechless. And this made Commander Zio express his opinion that Yining was truly an SS level pureblood. And he speculated that if the S level could be the third change, then the SS level would be more than that, and it would seem like the whole world and humanity would change or have hope. Seeing and thinking about this, Commander Zio laughed and looked happy about it. Because they now have a talented person. These prospective candidates seemed to not believe that things had happened so quickly, which previously people had not expected, and now they had high hopes for Yining, so that he could bring about change for the future. However, for Yining, he should still be able to advance to SSS level. But because this crystal is only capable of reaching SS level. But for now that was enough. Now his quest system has been completed in the form of the Sword God system and its first and second effect enhancements. But for Yining, this is even a good achievement compared to his previous life, because he was able to reach 2 levels and 1 skill level. But now this new system can increase the skill to SSS level, and now he had the idea to test all these skills. While Yining was paying attention to his system, Commander Xiao with a happy face offered Yining whatever he wanted at this time because he had achieved results beyond his expectations. But when Commander Xiao offered this, Yining was still focused on his system. But to Commander Xiao, he probably still looked shocked by the incident. Then Commander Xiao took him to his office to talk a lot about Yining. Here he finds out that Yining was framed by someone and almost didn't pass the exam because of that. And now the investigation is underway. Apart from that, they chat about sending Yining as the first candidate for the breeding program. Because of Yining's achievements during the test, he will be guided by a 3rd-level person and given resources and equipment. Then they also discussed Yining's talent, which is psychic or telekinesis, and now Yining needs a book about sword skills. Xiao complied with Yining's request and gave him a copy of a high-level sword skill book. Then now Yining wants to return to his family because he hasn't seen him for a long time and wants to tell them about this news. Commander Xiao ordered elite soldiers to escort Yining back to his house to ensure his safety. And he also wanted to see reports about Yining who almost failed or lost the opportunity to take the awakened test. Yining finally arrived at his housing complex and said goodbye to his seniors. Then the residents had enough surprise to see Yining brought here with awakener soldiers. What actually happened? Then on the road he met a little girl named Xian, and the little girl responded to him as Big Brother. Yining remembered in his past that in his past life he couldn't save his sister. But now he is determined not to repeat this incident and will protect his family no matter what happens. Then Yining cried while hugging his sister because he was so happy to see her again. They finally immediately returned to their house because their mother was waiting for them, and Yining couldn't wait to tell her mother this good news. They had returned to their house and were eating delicious food that Yining had brought from the training camp. Then his mother asked about the awakened test because many of his neighbors had asked about it. Yining also answered his mother's question that he had successfully passed the awakened test. Hearing this, his mother cried happily. Hearing this news, they looked very happy because their life would be happy in the future and they wouldn't have to live hard anymore. Late night arrived. His mother and sister were fast asleep. It made him happy to see them sleeping full. Yining checked his system. With the completion of the mission, he got 4 attribute points, and the level C sword stab skill was detected. Then the sword skill stab sword was upgraded to level SSS to sword storm. When checking and reading the system book, Yining was quite surprised that level C skills could be upgraded to SSS. But all of that must require or consume 4,500 points of spiritual energy. Apart from spiritual energy, to use the sword storm skill, Yining must reach level 3 first. But the problem is that the book system doesn't allow it to reveal any information. In other words, before he was promoted to level 2, he had to avoid using sword storm in front of people. Sword storm skill was a high-level skill that he had never seen in his previous life, and Yining really couldn't wait to use it. With the apocalypse, the world is full of spiritual energy, then various dungeons appear everywhere, with awakening and adventure and trials that have been completed. Relevant information about dungeons could gradually be gathered by humanity. The military in particular spent a lot of manpower and resources researching and then developing test dungeons. And when compared with natural dungeons, fatal dangers could be avoided in those trial dungeons. Then the security can also be increased to an extreme level. In the end, Yining decided to go to the trial dungeon, which was in the Heavenly Wind safe zone, and he had arrived at the place. Then Yining immediately asked the officers to open the low-level dungeon for one person of any type. The officer knew that he was Yining who had SSS talent. But the officer suggested to him that if he wanted to enter the dungeon, he had to go with a partner, and with his current strength, it was very dangerous to enter alone. Then Yining just wanted to go alone and wanted to try something in the dungeon. Yining finally entered the trial dungeon, with a city background and low levels. This situation exactly happened not long after the apocalypse. When he entered, he got a dagger weapon with a weak level. But it's good to be able to test the weaker the weapon, the easier it is to test the skill. When Yining started exploring this dungeon, he was faced with a mutant monster that suddenly attacked him. However, he easily avoided the mutant monster's attack by kicking its head with his knee. Then Yining used his combo attack using the dagger he got, stabbing it quickly from above. He managed to finish the mutant monster easily, and it was time for him to hunt. Then Yining tried to go deeper into the dungeon, and when he opened the door, he saw another large mutant looking at him. Indiscriminately, the mutant immediately attacked him suddenly. Before the mutant's attack hit him, Yining immediately kicked the mutant's head with his knee upwards. After that, he immediately stabbed it and ended with a slash using his dagger. Even though his physical condition is still not optimal, the fighting skills he acquired previously make these zombie mutants easy targets. Then he will go deeper to test all his skills. After entering deeper into the trial dungeon, he arrived at the town square. Then after passing the shops, the boss area should be in the square on the right. Can see lots of low-level zombie mutants in front of Yining. For now he is running out of time and doesn't want to fight all these low-level zombie mutants because it will waste a lot of time. Yining immediately ran towards the group of zombies quickly while taking out his dagger. He had to finish this quickly and go find his boss. He ignored the group of zombies and continued to run forward quickly, until Yining's actions provoked all the zombies to chase him, and there were a lot of them. He doesn't care what happens to all the zombies, because for him a bunch of zombies are worth nothing. Without increasing Yining's spiritual energy if he defeats all the zombies. The main priority right now is to find the boss first and defeat him. Then he arrived at the place where his boss was marked by the system alarm going off. First order pinnacle mutant corpse chewer incoming. Danger will soon approach Yining. Suddenly shocked, he saw a big monster behind him and a very fast monster. It turns out that the boss of this trial dungeon is this monster, namely Corpse Chewer, the first level peak mutant boss. Yining managed to avoid the sudden attack from the boss with his speed. Normally to defeat the first peak level mutant requires at least 3 people who have awakened at the same level. If Yining didn't come here to train his talent, no matter how good he was, he wouldn't be able to defeat the first pinnacle mutant head-on, plus the many zombies around him. The mutant boss along with many zombies began to attack Yining simultaneously. After Yining avoided a direct attack from the mutant boss, he immediately started running fast towards the boss's hand, then stepped on it and jumped high into the air to immediately carry out a sudden fatal attack right at the mutant's weakness, namely the back of the neck. When Yining was in the air, he immediately used his skill to attack the back of the mutant boss's neck. A direct, deadly attack accompanied by a blue beam like a laser shot hit the target right on the back of the mutant's neck. The deadly skill attack is called Sword Storm. Such an extraordinary attack that the mutant boss was defeated in an instant. Yining himself didn't believe in the skill he used because he could defeat this mutant with just one fatal attack. He wouldn't know about his skill capabilities if he didn't go to this trial dungeon. With this power, he can even defeat level 2 mutants easily. After defeating the mutant boss, Yining got 5 points of spiritual energy, and he got the white equipment Agile Hand. Then agility, speed by 1 point and shooting stability increased by 15%. Now his mission here is finished, and he is lucky enough because here he got equipment. Also, it is no longer of any use in this trial dungeon. Yining has left the trial dungeon and immediately gave the token to the officer. Then when Yining left, one of the officers got a warning that there was one team that was going to this trial dungeon and defeating the mutant boss. But this officer was sure that no other team had entered. Apart from defeating the mutant boss, his equipment was also taken. However, this officer just remembered that Yining had just come out of this trial dungeon and immediately looked at the statistics system, and how surprised this officer was that the one who did all that, from defeating the mutant boss and taking the equipment, was Yining. Yining returned to the settlement there. The situation was very dire. They were selling food and could be exchanged for ammunition. This zone is probably illegal because there are often patrols around here. There is a free sale of ammunition. Then the situation here is that Heavenly Wind will be razed to the ground in the next year due to the invasion of level 3 mutants. And in the next 10 days, there will be a zombie riot, which will then attack Heavenly Wind's safe zone. This will put his mother and sister at risk. In the Capital Safe Zone Central Army Headquarters, they are discussing the existence of a person who has pure SS blood, namely Yining. There were a lot of victims from level 3, and with Yining's presence it was great, and they were trying to speed up training and get resources. But on the other hand, there were those who wanted to make Yining directly Commander-in-Chief. However, this violates procedures because it oversteps the gap between levels 3 and 4. However, this is possible because many of those who are at level 3 cannot go up to level 4 due to lack of resources. The proposal was accepted, and Yining with SS level talent would be selected for the nursery program and then transferred to the capital region. But there were those who rejected the proposal, the man said regarding the last paragraph of the report. This man then explained the reason, because Yining was a psychic who certainly had the weakest physical abilities and was generally in an additional position. Without the protection of other awakeners, fighting alone is just stupid, while the single-player promotion mission to go from level 1 to 2 is just luck. Then from level 2 to 3, the success presentation is 0%. The news finally reached Commander Zio regarding the rejection of candidate Yining and his importance being lowered. This was based on the fact that Yining was psychic and could only reach level 3, so his evaluation potential was only equivalent to level A. So here Commander Zio lowered his importance regarding Yining, because from above he had investigated that Yining had no potential and ordered him to withdraw all the personnel who were involved. Protect him. The investigation into the case involving Yining's test manipulation was also cancelled. In another place, Yining was told that his interest in participating in the breeding program was revoked, because his potential was only equivalent to level 2. Here he was confused as to why it was only equivalent to level 2. Then he speculated that he and other awakeners who had psychic talents were still considered trash by the military. And they don't know that someone who can reach level 4 must have a psychic system within themselves. If Yining gave his theory about psychic powers being important for level 4 advancement to the military, it would be useless because he wouldn't be ignored. Then now what he has to do is find a way to return his strength to level 3, so that all these problems are solved. Now he had Sword God and Sword Storm system. This was a great start than his previous life. Then now he will start hunting mutants. Yining was already in the wild forest. Then when he wanted to enter the forest, he was invited by another awakener to hunt level 1 mutants together so he could gain experience. But this was cynically rejected by Yining because how could he hunt level 1 mutants in groups? And that will only get a few resources. Seeing Yining's arrogance, the awakeners looked angry, and Yining showed them a serious face. Seeing Yining's sharp gaze, the awakeners looked afraid, because for them, that kind of gaze was the only thing that often carried out various kinds of battles. Then now he was in this wild forest, and this place was the most dangerous outside the Heavenly Wind safe zone. Here there are level 1 and level 1 peak mutants. Then to go from level 0 to 1, Yining have to finish 3 mutants. Because previously he managed to finish a peak level 1 mutant in the trial dungeon, so there were only 2 mutants left. While Yining was walking, suddenly from behind a mutant quickly attacked him. However, he managed to avoid the mutant's attack and immediately counterattacked. Yining will not use the Sword Storm skill because he cannot defeat the mutant in one attack, besides that he also has to train his psychic physique. Then lots of level 1 mutants attacked him, but with his physical strength alone he could defeat them all. For Yining, awakeners who are able to reach level 3 must find a way to awaken their psychic powers. Otherwise, it would be too late when level 4 mutants appeared. And now he had to convince the senior awakeners of the importance of the psychic system. Then on the other side there was a gunshot, and it came from Yining, not far from them near the Devil Tree. And they all planned to run because Yining is crazy. After facing a group of level 1 mutants, Yining was confronted by a peak level 1 mutant, namely the Devil Tree, and another intermediate level 1 mutant named Binder. 2 mutants appeared in front of Yining at the same time, but he didn't see the other mutant. Yining is now faced with a Demon Tree mutant, and until now he can't sense the other mutant. The mutant he was facing now seemed to look strong, because of its large shape and lots of fibrous roots all over its body with tough skin. According to him, there was something strange about the mutant he was facing. Then the mutant launched a strong fiber root surprise attack. Yining immediately dodged all the attacks with his speed. And the attacks from the mutant devil tree are not only strong, but also fast. But Yining also has speed, so he can dodge all these attacks. While avoiding all the mutant attacks, Yining also looked for the whereabouts of the other mutant, whose whereabouts were unknown. Until one incident when he was focused on finding the whereabouts of the other mutant, he was shocked again by a surprise attack from the devil tree mutant. With his physical strength and speed, Yining managed to avoid the surprise attack. He was surprised that this mutant could jump, and he was worried about the other mutant because it hadn't appeared until now. But there was no time to run away and think about it. All he had to do was fight the mutant. The devil tree mutant was still attacking Yining, until at the same time he could no longer dodge and had to fend off the mutant's direct attack. Unexpectedly, the attack was so strong. But at one point, when the mutant was still trying to attack Yining, he saw that there was a small mutant on the body of the devil tree mutant. From the attack of the mutant devil tree, Yining could not withstand it and suffered quite a lot of damage, then suffered an injury to his arm. At that moment he thought in his previous life he came to know that the fatal incident was caused by this small mutant who could hide well. Yining always thought that the other mutant was hiding somewhere, but it turned out to be right in front of him. This mutant is called Binder and can stick to the demon tree's body. Then the power of the Binder is a buff, a strength for the demon tree, and it doesn't seem to last long. Then when the buff cooldowns, the demon tree will take a step back. Yining, with his injured arm, prepares to face the next attack from the tree demon. The pattern of the mutant's attack was still the same as before, and he tried to guess the direction of the mutant's attack by jumping to its side. It turns out that his suspicions were correct. The tree demon was still attacking Yining from his side. But because his guess was correct, he managed to avoid the fatal attack easily and immediately ran towards the mutant tree demon's body, then climbed up its body. He prepared to do so by gathering energy in his dagger and his attack aimed at the mutant Binder. Yining's fatal attack stabbed the Binder mutant. After stabbing the mutant, he immediately ripped it out with all his strength. When the Binder mutant is no longer with the demon tree, this mutant is very weak. Then after prying the mutant Binder out, he immediately crushed it with his hands. And now the demon tree mutant no longer has any buffs from the mutant Binder. After that, Yining took out his dagger again, preparing to attack, and the attack began with his physical speed, accompanied by the speed of the dagger's slash. The mutant demon tree can't do anything. Its roots are no longer strong before the mutant Binder buff. Without the buff from the Binder, the demon tree's strength doesn't even reach peak level 1. This will make it easier for Yining to defeat the mutant. However, the Binder mutant didn't give up. He still tried to attack Yining, even though he was already weak. In the end, the demon tree's attack was nothing. Yining immediately responded to the attack from the mutant with the physical speed of his hands and dagger, so that only the head of the demon tree mutant remains. There are no more fibrous roots that can attack Yining. Without mercy, Yining immediately killed the level 1 mutant at the top of the demon tree quickly, and Yining succeeded in defeating the mutant demon tree. After defeating the mutant, psychic experience, tree bark material, dead tree armor equipment, giant claw, and finally psychic fruit. Although this is still not ideal, it is good practice and get something out of it. Yining gets a psychic fruit. If used, it will increase the user's constitution by 1 point, and also provide 20% HP recovery. For Awakeners, increasing the level only adds 4 points. After Yining defeated the 2 bosses, his strength had increased and the results were satisfactory. Yining went to the mutant material supply shop located in Heavenly Wind Safe Zone City. Then he wants to exchange all the materials and give them a price. He purposely went to this place because he didn't want any resources to be wasted, compared to the system's trading channels. So all the materials from level 1 peak mutants were exchanged by Yining for a price of 697 points. And because he was a new customer, the exchanger gave him a price of 700 credit points. With the state of the world, getting 700 points is huge. Because you can buy a lot of meat and also pay 8 mercenaries for him. They also offer Yining customization of equipment and weapons to clients' needs. But Yining prefers sword books, but they only have sword books with level D. They have sword skill books, namely Mad Slash, Sword Cut, and Continuous Slash, each of which is low level, not useful either. This time he can't choose a skill randomly because the skill effect may still be changed in relation to the original one. It's the same as the Sword Storm skill. Even though it's strong, there's still quite a long time lag when using it. And also this skill is not flexible because it covers a large area. Then when you meet a fast mutant, this skill will be useless and can attack back. If Yining is not interested in these low-level sword skills, then they can get a level D or C sword skill book, of course, at a slightly higher cost. But he prefers this sword cut skill because of the level of acceleration. They thought why Yining, the man who brought peak level 1 mutant materials, preferred low-level sword books, maybe because he was rich or stubborn. Then they sell the low-level sword cut book with 600 points. Yining left the place. The remaining credit points are 100, and Yining plans to buy delicious food for his sister Zion. When his sister was at home, she was very happy that Yining brought a lot of delicious food. This happens because Yining is an awakener and will continue to give the best for his family in the future. He also brought a lot of snacks to his sister. In today's world, it is very difficult to get snacks, and only officials have these snacks. His sister was also very happy because brother gave her lots of snacks. It was already late at night. His mother wouldn't be home late today, and his little sister was already fast asleep. Then now for Yining to learn the skills. In opening the Sword God system, and when opened he gets Sword Cut level 0. Then the skill slot he has is 2 of 4. Skill Heavenly Light Rift or Sword Cut level SSS. Yining read the effect of the new skill when it was released, namely an increase in agility of 600%. Even though the duration was only 1 second, it made a big difference and the choice was very right. Now he will test his new skills somewhere. Yining just remembered that there was a very suitable place to test this new skill, namely on the outskirts of the Heavenly Wind safe zone.